Hi folks, what I'm going to be doing today is I'm going to be using the closed Bezier curve, which is this sort of third option down on the left. It's a path tool, so it usually is open Bezier. I want to do a closed Bezier and I'm just going to jump straight in. Switch off the grid lock, zoom in. First thing I'm going to do is start with these lips. These lips I have found on Pixabay, which is a royalty-free website, and I'm actually using these for a non-commercial purpose, so in that regard, non-profit. So I've drawn my closed Bezier curve. What happens is it snaps and closes the curve, which is really what we want. And now I'm going to go to what I'll do is I'll go to Start Edit, and that brings up these drag handles and nodes. And what I want to do is just use those yellow drag handles to drag into the shape of the lips. And I can actually select these lines separately, so I can break this. I don't want to do that, so I'm going to just double select those and join the nodes together. And I can move some of the nodes around so that they are so in effect what they're doing is that they're kind of going to the ends of curves. I don't want loads of nodes, I just want a few nodes. It just makes it a lot easier to handle at the end of the day. And I'm just pulling these around so it follows the shape of those lips. You can pretty much get any shape you want with these. So I'm just going to drag that around, and that's done on the outside, so I'm going to click away from that or end edit, and that's my line for the lips on the outside. I'm also going to do one for the inside, which is almost does itself. I double click to close that Bezier curve, select it again, go to Start Edit using those drag handles again. And I just keep dragging those around until I'm happy that I'm actually following that line, those outlines in effect. And I'm happy with that. Okay, I'm going to select the back image and I'm now going to delete that. And you're left with this really nice outline of lips. Okay, which you can then, if you want to sort of mess around with, you can group it by using the group option at the top, and then you can place it inside of this square which I've already drawn out. This is a square which is 80 by 80, or you can put it inside the 40 by 40 square, so you could like actually have it bigger first and then bring it down in size. So that's roughly the right size. What I want to do with this actually is I want to reduce the size of this. I can alter it by selecting the size settings on the left and go to 0.5 to halve it, which I'm going to do. Okay, and I just click on it and it halves in size. And I can check to see that that's correct by trying to put it inside of my 40 by 40 square, which is really the biggest size that I want to use for my key fob. Alright, that's the lips done. I'm going to use the exact same technique for drawing around this flower. Okay, so it's just going to be an outline once again, because that's all that we'll do on the laser cutter. So I'm going to just draw around it, point to point. It's a bit more tricky because you've got more points. And I'm just going to try and go for the end of each curve. So it starts out kind of almost looking like the glove of a clown, I would say. Like that, all quite messy. You can increase the size of the line to make it a bit easier to see. Yeah, that's actually too thick, so I might just actually change that back to 1. That's a little bit easier to see. Start Edit. I'm going to zoom in. And you just use those. It's very quick. You can kind of stretch it each way. You just got to play with it a little bit and go round. Go round. I like to just go like point to point to point, so I'm not doing it randomly. I am actually going round from one side like clockwise or anti-clockwise. So I make sure that these all are matching up. And this is the closed Bezier curve. This is one of the most fun creative tools on 2D design. Just going to move a little bit to the left. Oh, hang on, I came out of the edit. Just start that again. It can happen. And let's do that. And that one, it gets a little confusing around here. Let's do that one. I'm going to move this over a little bit. I'm going to move this down here. That, like that. Oh, I see, it's sort of a petal that actually comes out like that. Now I'm kind of doing this at speed for the purpose of the video, so it's not going to be perfect, but close. Actually, I think I'm pretty happy with that. Might want to put this here, make this a bit more rounded. Great. Okay, so I'm happy with that. That's actually my sort of flower shape. You could draw a stem off of that as well. I'm just going to take this. I'm going to take this line again. I'm going to make it thin. It has to be thin for the laser cutter, so I'm going to go back to fine and take that away. And you've got a nice sort of flower shape. You can kind of change the size on that, like here as well. And you can actually duplicate it by pressing copy. And you could actually have a few flowers together. So let's just turn this, rotate this. So you could have two flowers like that. So you could have them symmetrical or slightly off. If you are going to do that, what you need to do is you make sure that you delete away any overlapping lines, so that when it laser cuts, it doesn't cut as two separate flowers, it cuts as one shape. Same thing with the lips. Get rid of that box. Right, I could do the same with butterfly. Let's just quickly jump in. So, in actual fact, I could do this just as one half to save myself time, but I'm going to do it as two. I'm just trying to be as economical with clicking as possible. It's almost like a competition I'm having with myself to make sure that I don't actually go half a line thickness. That to make sure I don't actually make it too complicated. If I put in too many of those nodes, it's just going to get very busy when it comes to the editing stage, which we have here, which will make it incredibly difficult. So let's get that. That's fine. This is really good for things like butterflies. That's why I included the butterfly. I know some of you will be designing butterflies. Let's just mess around with that. So that's fine. That's okay. Let's just move this in a little bit. Make this a bit wider. And that there. And that's actually okay. Hasn't got like antenna coming off it. I don't really mind. Line I'm going to change back to fine. Okay. And edit. Fine. Okay, done. Minimize. Take that, move that off, and there we go. We've got a butterfly shape. Just delete away our images, and once again, you can just copy that and say, for example, rotate it a little bit. So you have two butterflies overlapping each other. Part delete again. Oh, undo. Only one undo on this. There we go, so you could have like butterflies over each other. Now I've got this pop for pop art, but what I want to actually do is I want to actually have text going along a line. For this I'm going to go back to my path and draw an open Bezier curve on gridlock. I'm just going to draw a line, and I'm going to go back to it. Actually, let's try that again. Like that. Okay, that's fine. I can then sort of select that as an open line, go to start edit, and make it a bit, mess around with that. I could do this with a curve as well. Okay, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to do text along a path or a line. So I'm just going to go pop. I'm going to go to my settings. I'm going to make this Comic Sans because it's a bit more pop art. Yeah, great. And the fill has to be no fill. So no fill. Okay, make it bold. Okay. Okay, and you see it kind of goes along that line, so it's a bit more kind of like exploding, and you delete that line away. Now you need to have this on top of something. It might be an explosion. You can use the gridlock to snap this, so that if you want to do, say, something like an explosion, which is quite kind of pop arty, a bit like Roy Lichtenstein, use the interconnected line tool, and you can draw a series of sharp lines like that. This would obviously be a double casting, so this is two layers, separate layers on two separate blocks. So you might have it like that, for example, and you can always kind of change the shape of this a little bit. You can distort that a little bit, but you can't edit it after you've distorted it. So there you go. So there are some examples of how you take this whole thing and you can make that smaller. I would actually just use the transform tool because it's easier. But make sure your writing doesn't get too distorted. And that would be about the size of a key fob as well. But you'd want to have this as two separate layers when you laser cut it. And last thing you want to do is draw boxes around these, because you'll be drawing boxes and these are going to be holes in boxes. Okay, let's move that down. And those will be holes for you to cast. Now, last thing you need to do for all of these is you need to have a sprue for your main design. A sprue is where you pour in the molten pewter, and it's a channel that allows the pewter to go into the actual shape. You need to ungroup this to do that, and you can just file that off afterwards. Okay, so you'll have to do that for all of these shapes. Right, I hope you found that helpful. Thanks for watching.